G'day everyone, my name is Matilda Gibson and I am joined by Gabriella Anway and Martha Burgmann. Today we are going to explore assessment and the teaching learning cycle. Let's dive right in. The main areas we will discuss throughout this presentation are the different approaches to assessment, some information behind the teaching learning cycle, and then we'll finish by reviewing assessment strategies and activities aligned with our findings. Let's begin by discussing the different approaches to assessment. This quote from the Northern Illinois University aims at capturing that assessment is how teachers collect information to understand how well they are teaching and how much their students are learning. Assessment can be broken up into three main approaches: assessment for learning, assessment as learning, and assessment of learning. Each of these are useful in providing different ways of collecting data on teaching and learning. Assessment for learning focuses on providing feedback to teachers during the learning process. It allows teachers to monitor student progress and identify areas where additional instruction or support is needed. Each of these assessment for learning examples can be used throughout the lesson and can provide teachers with immediate data on student progress, allowing teachers to make timely adjustments to their lessons, to their instructional techniques, and to their materials. Assessment for learning supports teachers in adapting their instruction to meet the needs of their students, ensuring meaningful and targeted learning experiences. Moving on to the second approach, we have assessment as learning. This approach places emphasis on students actively engaging in the assessment process. It empowers students to become active participants in their own learning. The approach involves self-assessment, reflection, goal setting, identifying strengths and areas for improvement, and fostering a sense of ownership and responsibility for learning. On this slide, I have compiled some examples of what this approach to education looks like. By using this assessment approach, teachers can help their students develop critical thinking skills and deepen their understanding of a subject matter, leading to an enhanced ability to transfer knowledge to new situations. Assessment as learning empowers students to take ownership of their learning, develop essential metacognitive skills, and cultivate a lifelong love for learning. Lastly, let's discuss assessment of learning, commonly known as summative assessment. This approach focuses on evaluating students' overall achievement at the end of a unit, a course, or an academic period. Summative assessment provides a comprehensive overview of what students have learnt. Here are some examples of this. Each of these allow teachers to make judgments about their students' mastery of content, their skills, and their competencies, and can help teachers identify areas of improvement and inform their decision-making regarding future instructional approaches. Summative assessment provides a comprehensive evaluation of students' overall achievement, informing future decision-making and supports accountability. I will now hand over to Martha Burgmann.
Thanks, Matilda. Today I will be talking about the teaching learning cycle. Firstly, I will explain what it is, followed by how syllabus outcomes, as well as the Australian professional standards for teachers, inform teaching practice. And finally, I will be looking at how programming and teaching practice is modified by evaluating student learning through assessment data. The teaching learning cycle is a framework that describes the process of teaching and learning. The cycle involves assessing, planning, programming, implementing, and evaluating. And the ultimate goal of this teaching learning cycle is to enhance learning outcomes for students. The teaching learning cycle can be broken down into 5 parts. Firstly, assessment informs the educator about student progress and different learning needs. Then that assessment data is used for planning and can identify strengths and areas for student improvement. Programming is the outlined activities, resources, instructional strategies needed to achieve learning objectives. Then implementation is the actual delivery of the program. And lastly, evaluation happens at the end, and student progress is examined to determine whether or not the lesson objective has been met and where instructional improvements can be made. Teaching practice is influenced by both the syllabus and the Australian professional standards for teachers. We are going to explore now how these frameworks impact our practice. Nessa describes syllabus outcomes as the essential knowledge, understanding, and skills that students are expected to demonstrate. Teachers align their teaching practice with these syllable outcomes in three ways: through planning, differentiation, and assessment. Planning ensures key concepts, skills, and content are covered. Differentiation ensures appropriate adjustments and accommodations are made. And formative and summative assessment is used to gauge understanding, provide feedback, and guide instruction. The Australian Professional Standards for Teachers influences teaching practice by ensuring teachers meet the professional standards expected of them. Teachers must engage in ongoing professional learning to continually improve teaching practice. Pedagogical approaches such as differentiated instruction and evidence-based teaching practices help to cater to diverse learners, facilitate student engagement, and promote higher order thinking. The standards also highlight the importance of maintaining professional relationships with parents, students, colleagues, and the wider community. Reflection and evaluation is a key part of the standards, where teachers are required to evaluate their effectiveness. The APSTs and the syllabus outcomes are both essential frameworks that inform teaching practice. Evaluating student learning through interpreting student assessment data can have significant impacts on both teaching practice and programming. When teachers interpret assessment data properly, it allows for targeted instruction and differentiation that address individual needs. The data is used to create individual learning plans, set specific goals, and provide feedback. Assessment data can help identify gaps in knowledge, correct misconceptions, and guide instructional decisions to improve learning outcomes. When considering programming, student assessment data can influence curriculum development, resource allocation, technology integration, and professional development. Curriculum designers can develop curriculum that adjusts to student needs. Assessment data can help school leaders when allocating funding and resources and ensure personal development opportunities for staff. Learning management systems and educational software can collect and analyze data, providing real-time insights into student performance, which assists with effective programming. I'll now hand over to Gabriella Anway.
Thank you, Tilly and Martha. The third component of this presentation reviews types of assessment strategies and activities. As Tilly and Martha demonstrated, teaching is an ongoing cycle. This cycle focuses on students' learning needs as revealed through summative and formative assessments and evaluation. Teachers then choose assessment strategies and activities that they recognize will best support their students' needs. Across many educational resources, there are common recommendations as to assessment strategies and themes that should be used to ensure optimal growth from the assessments. As the list demonstrates, several key strategies include clear learning goals, varied assessment formats, timely feedback, self-assessment/peer assessment, authentic assessments, formative assessments, collaborative assessments, and reflective assessments. Clear learning goals are foundational to ensure student success. The clear learning goals give students direction for their learning and a greater understanding of what they need to be doing. Clear learning intentions and goals offer positive benefits to promote student achievement and success, and they become the basis for assessment objectives within the classroom. Having a range of assessment formats is also important for student engagement and motivation. Utilizing a range of activities ensures that students are being exposed to a range of testing formats and means they can demonstrate their unique strengths accordingly. Further, an important and frequently considered assessment strategy is feedback. Feedback has been proven to have a positive effect on student achievement. Central to ensuring growth, the feedback needs to directly relate to the learning goals that were established and be given in an appropriate and reflective nature. Feedback should be informative and descriptive to ensure a learning-centered perspective and encourage students to focus on their achieved progress and development rather than focusing on a singular mark or grade. Educators also recommend including self-assessment strategies for students to develop a sense of autonomy and ownership of their work. It enables them to recognize their strengths and equally where they can improve their work and their learning. Similarly, peer assessment is a tool that is recommended to provide additional feedback and encouragement for students. It is believed that students respond well to peer marking because it is more accessible and understandable and relatable for students. Thus, a great assessment strategy for teachers to use. Many educational resources also highlight the effect of having authentic assessments, which makes the connection between learning and testing real and meaningful. Redman and Allen highlight the intention behind the general capabilities in the Australian curriculum, noting that all young people in Australia should be supported to become successful learners, confident and creative individuals. Therefore, they suggest teachers consider skills that will help students become successful and focus on assessments on such skills because they are worthwhile to know. Similarly, having quality assessments have a greater impact on students because it includes both the cognitive and affective domains, and it is informed, purposeful, valid, and reliable, which makes it a fabulous assessment strategy and activity for teachers to use within the classroom. Overall, it can be seen that to achieve an enhanced level of student engagement and motivation, effective teaching and assessment strategies and activities need to be embedded into teaching practices. The effect of quality assessment strategies is positive and has a significant influence in the success of student learning and their development. As Tilly, Martha, and I have demonstrated, the three approaches to assessment that means assessment for learning, assessment as learning, and assessment of learning provide teachers with a tangible and comprehensive insight into their students and their learning strengths, which then informs their teaching decisions. This is reflected in the evaluative teaching learning cycle process and demonstrates how all teaching practices are informed by the syllabus, the professional standards for teachers, and the interpretation and evaluation of student assessment data. These evaluated decisions are then reflected in the choices teachers make from relevant assessment strategies and activities to ensure the most appropriate choices are made with student learning at the center of all that teachers do for their kids. On behalf of Tilly, Martha, and I, we thank you for listening to our group presentation on the development of assessment and the teaching learning cycle and how that creates enhanced student engagement and motivation. Thank you.